we're finding the exact same thing in these highly paid career paths. But that means when these people leave, the amount of money for their attrition is much higher. Hi, welcome back to the Empath Leader, where we talk about all things EQ via empathy, especially as related to leadership. And remember, when we're talking about leadership, we're not just talking about those at the very top of an organization or a school or a nonprofit or whatever. We're also talking about emerging leaders. We're talking about aspiring leaders. We're talking about middle management leaders. You might be a leader in your community or a leader in your family or even just a better leader of yourself. Because by understanding and integrating these soft skills, these emotional intelligence skills, you become a better leader of just yourself, which makes you more productive, makes you more innovative, and makes you better able to get a hold of your life and do the things you need to do. One quick announcement that I am really excited about. My book launches in September, and I am really excited about this. So our pre-order is actually up, and I will be putting the link down below. So they will be coming out from Amazon once we get to September, but in the meantime, you can pre-order them from the Stand Store link, and they will be sent as soon as I get them in September. And anybody who orders from that Stand Store link, you are going to get a little bit of a discount, and I would be more than happy to autograph your copy. So, thanks to everybody for the wild support and all of the help that everyone has given me, and just the people who were willing to raise me up while I got all this done. It's been a labor of love, and I'm very excited. So one question I get a lot is about people that are in professional type realms, people that are very highly self-actualized. And what that means, for those of you who are psychology buffs, we're talking about the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs. So right at the bottom, you've got food and shelter, you have safety, and you have social belonging. But up at the very, very top, at that very peak, is self-actualization. And that's where you actually are able to come into your full being of who you are and achieve. Words that describe this are also authenticity and self-reflection, self-control, discipline. That's stuff that's really at the top. These people that are in professional fields, and by professional, I don't mean suits and ties. I mean pretty specifically either medicine or law. These are people that are trained for many, many years to be able to do what they do. There's a huge investment with people both in the legal and the medical fields because you have to go through a lot of training. You have to go through a lot of expensive education. Usually there's all sorts of tests before you can even get into med school or law school. These are the jobs that people that are really gunners can tend to go for. Not exclusively, but there's a lot of that there. They're also very highly competitive in a lot of ways. However, this morning I had a really nice conversation with Gary Miles, who is the host of the Free Lawyer podcast. And we spent a lot of time talking about EQ and empathy and how the law field could really benefit from adding some of these skills in. And let's discuss why. Because again, you're talking about a field where you have to spend a lot of money and time and effort just to get in the door, much less to get out, and then get into the law firm, and then move up through the ranks, and then be the top dog, top paid, top fed dude or dudette. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So some of the statistics I found that really kind of blew my mind is that according to the National Association for Law Placement, or the NALP, there is a 26% turnover for lawyers. Let's put this in perspective. 26% means that 1 in 4 lawyers will leave in the next year. You think about the size of some of these practices, but even the smaller ones. Losing someone is very detrimental. And here's the reason why. To replace a single lawyer costs $2.4 million. Now think about that for a minute. You have 12 people in a smallish firm. 3 of those leave. You're looking at $7 million in employee attrition. Now, what have we been talking about for months now insofar as emotional intelligence and EQ? That one of the main things that this can actually solve is all of the employees leaving, the quiet quitting, the people with the constant turnover in the workplace because nobody wants to work for them. We're finding the exact same thing in these highly paid career paths. But that means when these people leave, the amount of money for their attrition is much higher. We're talking about a bottom line, right? No matter what, if you are the most Montgomery Burns of all leaders out there, you're looking at your bottom line. Well, that doesn't just mean the money you bring in. That means everything above that bottom line that feeds into it. And employees are one of those things. Why would you not try to stanch the hemorrhaging of employees leaving? The other thing that's going on in the legal field is that as of right now, there's a higher prevalence of women. Statistically, it's 56% women, 42% men. Which is, that's good to be able to see this kind of juxtaposition, this kind of diversity. However, what they're finding is that women are dealing with these kind of heavy stress situations differently than men. And on the whole, they tend to have a different set of problems. So this came from a PLOS One. It's PLOS One, which is a peer-reviewed mega journal that just kind of pulls in everything advanced science for the benefit of society. And the gender-specific risk factors among attorneys, the big one was substance abuse. They actually talked about it in terms of women as stress, drink, leave. For women, the prevalence of severe depression, anxiety, stress, and risky, hazardous drinking was significantly higher than their male counterparts. And they also find a very lackadaisical culture in most law firms in terms of drinking. So what's happening is that people are getting very siloed. They're working on their cases, they're doing the work they're supposed to be doing, they're researching, they're using all of their upper level faculties, but they're geared on what they're doing. As opposed to looking over at their neighbor and saying, "Wow, Gina, you're not looking so good today. What's going on?" The simple, empathic, emotional intelligence responses that should be there aren't. And it's causing severe depression, anxiety, stress, and substance abuse. That's not good, especially in a field where we're expecting people to be able to think at their highest level. We also talked about the EQ and empathy in terms of being able to relate not just to colleagues, but to clients. And in this way, medicine and law are very similar in that when people go to find a surgeon or a lawyer, chances are it's not one of their best days. If you're going to a cardiothoracic surgeon, it's not for a small reason. If you're trying to find an estate lawyer after the fact, a divorce lawyer, a criminal lawyer, there's a problem. Which means that when these clients show up, they're not always in their best place. As an attorney, it's going to be very important, not just for their mental health, but yours, that you can relate to them on an empathic level, to understand what they're feeling. And understand, as we've said before, with empathy, that doesn't mean you're taking responsibility for what they're doing. You're not. That doesn't mean you're trying to fix what the problem is. You're not. You're connecting with them on that empathic level so that you know which tools to pull out of the emotional intelligence tool chest. You are using your empathy as a conduit to your emotional intelligence skills. When you're dealing with people that are not in the best place and probably having to come up with a lot of money in the process, that empathy would serve everybody so much better. Thank you so much for watching, and we will hit the back end of this later in the week. So much gratitude to everyone who has helped me get this book off the ground, and we'll see you in a few days.